feel I have to do my best Frank Sinatra impersonation when I have a microphone like this in my hand. If you've been to elementary assemblies, you know I'm not used to using a microphone. I like when the kids are quiet enough that we can speak with a regular voice and not have to talk on top. And I don't think I'd have to talk on top of all of you either, but we are recording. And so for people who aren't able to come today, we'll post the link on Thursday with all the information that we're going to be shared today. And as we're told lots of times by our tech department, if we don't have a microphone, it doesn't pick up so well for the recording. So that's why I'm doing my Frank Sinatra. We'll burst into some song later on towards the end of the presentation. Thank you for coming. As you all know and you're showing right now, this school is the way it is because of this, because of the parent, staff, student interactions, the support, the way we work together, the knowledge base that we share and that we get from each of the groups. So thank you for being here. We're going to go through a number of topics today. One of the things I want to point out, and this is for us to make sure that everybody is always on the same page. We have Derek here at the back, and Derek is available around for any of you today, and of course anybody that sees this recording later who wants to come in and figure out how to get Google Calendar of one of the divisions, or several divisions, if you have kids in a couple of divisions. You can get it directly into your own calendar, and that's a good way for you to be able to be on top of those events. If you're the kind of person like me that really depends, crucially on that calendar to keep you going where you need to be going, then this is a really great system just to add it to your calendar and it's popping up and you're seeing it all the time. And our commitment is we'll try to make sure it's always as correct and as much information as we can give you. Okay? So here's what we have on the slate for today. We're going to go through and we're going to share some data with you. I think as a school, we know internally often more about what we do and the results of the kids and what's going on, and we don't always share it a lot with the parent community. And so today we're going to try and fix that a little bit, and we're going to share some information with you. Monique is going to share some data, some school-wide data, and she's doing this actually not just with the elementary group today, but with other groups through different venues over this month or so. And that'll give her a chance and give the school a chance to really make sure that parents do know the data about the school. Because sometimes in the lack of data, if we don't know data, then we wonder and we make up stuff, and it's not really as accurate. So it's best just to know what the numbers actually say. So we're going to go through looking at data. We're going to hear about our excellence campaign. We're going to hear a little bit more about what the way that department works and the way that we can all contribute. We're going to talk a little bit about communication. And just as I was saying with data, we want to make sure that people have correct information. And there's lots of different ways of trying to get information. Some ways are more effective than others. And so we're going to work as a community to talk about the best ways to communicate. And then, of course, our events, and you can probably imagine, we have many events on the horizon, many even just this week, as I know a lot of you are aware of. And we'll talk about those events, and then we'll also talk about your role. Can you please put your hand if you are a homeroom parent? Yeah, so we have a lot of our homeroom parents here today, and that's crucial. And thank you, because you guys play a really important role in a number of really special events throughout the year. And then finally, we will have some time for just open questions. If people have any other questions in their mind that they think would be a good time to ask, I'll be here, Monique is here, Anne will be here, and we'll be able to answer some of those questions as well. Okay? So, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Monique.
Well, hello. Can you do me a favor? Can you hand this out? But I need one. So I actually have copied for you in paper what I'm going to have up on the slides. And how many of you already attended a 6th grade or an 8th grade copy? All right, you get to judge me on how well I do it again. All right, so this will be repeat button for you. So I call this, we have parent perception and we have Flickinger facts. So we're going to dive into the Flickinger facts. When I first arrived here, I was reassured over and over and over again that this is a really great school. And it is a really great school. And then as I started to get prepared to work on the strategic plan, I needed to gather the data so we knew exactly what were the areas in which we needed to improve or focus on. And I always like to use data to drive instruction. And I specifically look for having at least 3 or 4 or 5 multiple points of data to help drive decisions. Because as you know, your little bundles of joy on any one given day, on any day that they decide to take a test, could be different than the day before, right? So this is why why we always try to have multiple forms of data. But I want to review just some of the big forms of data. This is reading, and I printed up everything that we have, 2 through 9. You can take a look. How the hell do I click on this one? No, do I? You can see the little. No, I don't. Okay.
It was there.
Was it? Oh,
Hold on.
it doesn't show. We're okay. All right, so if you take a look at 4th grade in 2018 in the spring, you'll see in 4th grade our ACS average was 215. Everybody see where I'm at? Okay. When you look at that and you do a comparison of NWA worldwide, it's a 205. Let me explain what those numbers mean. It means that if we look at our average score of students in 4th grade, those students are scoring at a 215. If you looked at the millions, and it is millions of kids that take that test in the United States, and I believe the international scores are put in there as well. I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure, unless it's changed in the last 3 years, they are scoring a 205 on average. And if you take a look at the NISA average, and NISA averages are those schools that were in our region, and sorry, I put my reading glasses on. Schools such as AS Dubai, AS Doha, Dhaka, Beirut, Delhi. So in other words, the schools that compete against us internationally on this side of the world, their average was a 205. Now, we are in that NISA average. So our 215 is actually raising that 205. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Okay. And just as a point of reference, if you take a look at that grade 4 215, you can see in the US, it's about 6th grade for NISA and USA before they hit around that same score as an average. I'm going to take a look at math. Let's take a look at math in 5th grade. Let's look at 5th grade, top of the pile. Our students on average are getting a 230. And this is one score, one day. I'm just sharing bits of data because I don't put all weight into one score. That's a 230. A 230 is still higher than the USA average and is still significantly higher over the NISA average. Now when I see a NISA average of 200, I'm assuming maybe something happened there, right? Common sense tells me something might have happened there. Maybe a school had wrong scores, and then from there, that's what, the reason why I picked that out is when we're in school and we see something like that, we start to really drill down farther in the data. What was that? Did a bunch of kids, as I can attest many years ago, I had an entire grade level who decided that they were going to refuse to do the test, so they just typed A all the way through, the whole grade level. We had a big meeting about that. Me and the entire 8th grade had a big meeting about doing that. So we talked about how this is helpful to them, this is helpful for teachers, and I don't blame the students, they were being tested to death. It wasn't our choice on the other test, but I explained to them why this one was important. So if you take a look, every single ACS score is higher than the NISA or the USA average. Now we cannot break down and pull out one school's score to do a comparison against ours, unless that school willingly shares their individual data with us. There's no possibility of doing that correction. We can compare ourselves to certain organizations. So for example, I could pull up the data of the Tri-Association in Latin America, which is a group of schools. Or it's usually associations of schools in one area that you can look at that group data. And NISA would be probably the most comparable to us, and probably in a similar high achieving area, so that's why we do that comparison there. I'm going to continue. I use this band because whatever grade level I have, it pretty much looks like this. So I want to explain how educators can quickly read data. So typically, and I'm using my typically back in Colorado 33 elementaries. This is what I would see. I see a little, typically I would see a bar of red about this big. I would see a bar of blue about this big. And then I would see a big chunk of yellow, because that is average normal kid. Big chunk, it's a big chunk in the middle. And then on either side, I have some kind of dark mustardy yellow and a little bit of green. That's what a regular chart looks like. You can see here, and just about any grade level that we have, when I pull up the grade level bands, this is considered high performing. So these are your students that are mastering the content. In other words, 80% of all students are performing lower than them. That's this group. This group here, the green group, are those that are considered high average. And then this is really regular students, and then the few that are below average are struggling. I know that that red band, and several grades actually don't even have a red band, that's 51 students in our school. And we identify, we go student by student on those 51 and say, why, what happened? Was there a language issue? Did they not engage like my 8th graders and just click through the whole test? Were there concepts that they don't understand? Do they have reading challenges? I mean, we have to dig in, but it provides a flag for us. We also take a look at all those kids in the green and the blue and say, okay, next steps for them. What are we going to do? I wanted to share this with you because this kind of gives you a general look at where students in the whole are performing. So the large pack of our students, same thing with reading, you see that very same data guideline, it's about the same. And if I go down all the grades, it looks about like this through the whole school. So you can see, reading-wise, one of them is 7th grade up there. But reading-wise, we have kids scoring in the 80th percentile or higher, and that's usually our biggest pack. So when we're providing, obviously the educational system that we have within the school is producing students that can achieve at that high level. When we look at our data, because we perform so high, we actually consider all students performing in that average range and below as almost needing support, which is why we can say 73%. If you look at it, it's about 70, right? Low 70s. If you look at all the groups in the whole school and you kind of put it together, it's around 70%-ish of our students are in the high to very high quadrant. So that's about 3/4 of any class. Now, that's one data point. That was just maps throughout the whole school. I want to talk about IB results, when they come out the other end. And let me tell you how to read the graph. So the green on the top is whatever kid got the highest score. So one year it was 41, one year it was 42, then 44, then 42, then 43, then 40, then 44, then 40, then 42. Now you gotta remember there's a small group of kids, well I mean small, anything to me under 100 is small. But when I look at this, it's actually that green line's kind of been right there, right? Fairly stable, hasn't changed. When you look at the bottom, it actually doesn't matter what the bottom score is. And let me tell you why, because we encourage all students to take the test. All students, even if we don't think they're gonna make it, what is the harm? One, they learn some good test-taking strategies. They practice, they study. And if they don't get it, they learn how to do a complicated test even better in the future. Now, many schools, this is a caveat I'm giving you, many schools right before the test, or about 2 weeks before the test, will determine whether or not a student will be eligible to take the test. And that is a common practice with international schools. And I'm sharing that with you so that you understand when you go to look at other average scores, they've eliminated all those children that are in the red. They say, for you, you can't take the test. And that is, I'm sharing that with you that really happens. I can't live with that. I had a student 2 years ago at the Met that I would have laid $100 down that he wouldn't have made it, and he did. He made it exactly on point. And when we found out he scored, we were jumping with joy. You should have seen the front office. We were screaming and jumping. His mom was in admissions. I mean, she's like, I can't believe you did it. I can't believe you did it. I'm like, he did it. Now, here's the line. He was sitting right on it, and he did it. And he would have been a student that was such a stretch goal for him. But that's why here at ACS, we really push all kids to take it. So that average of 34, if you take all of our students and you average them together, the average score is 34 that we receive. I also printed up there, you can see what other schools are performing at. So Dubai had a 34, Repton had a 34, Bettine had 32.2, Raha, and the British School. Just to give you an idea right around. Now the international score for IB is 29 point something. I always take it to 30. We score well over what the international average is for IB. The highest score you can get is a 45, and it is rare. Like, it is rare. Okay. Oh, this comes up really clear. Good, we can do it quickly. So, a SAT test is one of the tests that students take in high school, and what we do when we get the data is we take a look at our SAT scores and we do it in comparison to a bunch of other schools. To read it, this is what we look at, because you have a small percentage of students, it's very hard to do a deep analysis. But what you do is you line them up, and then you go across, and you say, do I touch the line of most of the other schools? And I'd say, yes, in fact, we touch the line of all other schools. And in education, we call that playing with the pack. In other words, we're right there in the pack with our competitors. Well, this one's a little dark, but probably a better choice. Okay, so this is the reading and writing. If you take a look at where we're scoring, and I've chosen schools that maybe we benchmark across that we take a look at, if you go horizontally, and normally I teach people, you take your fingers and you just go straight across. If I went straight across, am I mostly about in the same lines as all other schools? Yeah. We play with the pack with other high-performing schools. I had another question, and this was one I spent a little bit of time trying to track down. I had a couple people that were telling me that we don't have students going into highly competitive colleges anymore. We don't have students getting into the schools that they want. So what I did, because I couldn't find that data, but I was trying to save myself some time, so it takes a lot of work to go do what we just did. There was 4 of us for a couple of days that did this. We stopped everything and did this. I can tell you 24% of our students make it into the top 100 as identified by QSI. Now there are different lists of what places consider the top 100. And this is a big game that everybody plays, right? I figured the international list would probably be more accurately portrayed by our school because we do have so many students that do go worldwide and not just in the US. So I looked at the top 100 international. As of January 17th, 2019, I have the spreadsheet of every university that they listed, and then I have on our high school profile, I have the list of where every student went in, and we marked them all one by one. All right? Then from there, I actually pulled AS Dubai's high school profile and did the very same thing. Took the back page of their high school profile, went to their university list, filled out the very same spreadsheet. We are right now doing it for all those universities that you saw that I'm comparing ourselves to. I'm running a cross analysis with every single high school, international school that you saw up there. It's going to take us a little bit of time, but I'm looking at that comparison to see if anything is wildly out of line. When I took a look at where our students are going, it's kind of the same places. I have some of the universities started. I will share with you, but I don't have it done yet. I looked to like, is there like a big hole in our top 100 that it isn't? It's kind of like if there's a bunch, they might have 7 going there, we have 2, but they're a school of 3,000, we're a school of 1,200. So I just take a look at the bandwidths. Are we sending students here to the same schools that those schools are sending to there? Yes, they actually have it. It's really fairly identical. One of the questions I got asked that I thought was a really good question, and we've actually just started that research, so I'll open it up to a few minutes of any questions you might have on the data, was how many of those top 100 universities visit our campus? I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know that answer. So we are figuring that out right now. So I'm like, that's a really good question. The next question I push back with is how many of our students, how many of our counselors have visited those campuses? Because sometimes universities will not come, or they come on like a 4-year or a 3-year rotation, like they only come once every 3 years to a certain region, it depends. But those are really good questions to ask. It doesn't mean that it tells us different data, but it's a good question to ask. Now there's one thing I want to really be cautious about this. This is saying how many students got into a list, and I am by no means saying that's the list. And I will use the example of Colorado State University. Colorado State University has the best animal program in the world. So they have, if you're going to be a veterinarian or if you're going into studying like livestock care and animal, I think they call it animal husbandry, basically taking care of animals on a big scale, that is the university you go to. It is highly competitive. They are known worldwide. My IB school in that community was filled with people from all over the world because countries were sending people there to get their doctorate in that degree, and so their students would be at my school. So I had kids from all over the world in my school. But it was because it was the best program. Colorado doesn't even poke anywhere on that list, and yet it is the best in that program. And this is one of the things that's really changing from like when you and I went to university is universities are starting to really specialize and choose what's best in a certain field. And I think one of the indicators that I would like to continually put up and remind people is where do students want to go to university, and did they get into the schools that they went to? Because if I wanted my child to go in to be a veterinarian, I would want them in Colorado, not in this list of schools. So we always look for what's called best match or best fit. And I believe, did any of you guys attend, do any of you have any kids in the 11th or 12th grade this year? That did? So I do believe they show a slide, I caught most of the presentation, but they showed a really interesting slide that said how many students were placed in one of their top 3 schools, and I believe it was 90-something percent. Do you remember the number? 90-something. And then they asked parents, how many of your children were placed in the university you wanted? Parents were like 10% lower, like 87%. You know why? Because kids make the choice. Parents might say, this is where I want you to go. And like my son went, I'm not going there. So they start to gain their independence. But interesting enough to me, that's a critical data point to know. Are students getting into the universities that they choose to go to? That's what we want. And when you look at our data, our academic achievement data, our students can make those choices. If you take a look at how many of our students are performing at a high level, that's the large bulk of our students. So those choices are there for them. Now you get like 2 minutes, and then I will stay at the end and I will talk data for as long as you would want, because I love data, because that's my degree, mathematics, my favorite place to play. If you want to save a tree, and I can use this for, I still have 2 more groups to present to, you can give this back to me. If you would like to have it, you may keep it as well. It doesn't matter to me, but that's up to you. Do you have any questions on what I've shared with you? I know you're elementary and I had to talk about the NWA data, and then I talked about the output data, kind of like what's the pipeline. Those are some of the data points that we use, and of course as a teacher we use many more, but those are kind of recognizable international forms of data point that we look at. What questions do you have? Or maybe one of you can ask a really great question that I will go, that's a great question, and let's look into it. Yes, you were involved, thank you, in doing strategic planning, so you had some insider information on all of this before.
Sure. I guess specifically, some question on the data, given, you were asking us. When of course we are comparing ourselves, now I'm back to the map.
Map testing,
result.
okay.
So, of course we are comparing ourselves to the worldwide average, which makes absolute sense.
Yeah, and that's not one we benchmark against, right? Because for us it is significantly just way too low.
And then, we are comparing ourselves to the Nizara region, which
Yes.
of course it's, where we are, and it does make sense to look at this data.
It's because it's other international schools.
But yeah, in the area. I guess I would want to know, I guess as a school, not as a Nizara, how are we faring also against international school outside of this region? I don't know whether the data are available, but I think, this region is, there's some peculiarity of this region. How are we doing compared to the American School of London? I know it comes back, you have the data.
Remember what I said on the data? I can't pull an individual school's data.
No, I don't mean
To
to
do a
the
comparison.
individual. I don't know whether there are any other,
So I can look to see if there are other associations.
just to double check. I think, it would be a suggestion, because, there are something specific to this region that, they're not necessarily the same as some of the other regions.
Yeah.
So that was one question. And I guess on the IB result,
Yes?
I think it would be helpful for you guys also to look at, of course, there is the average, perhaps also to see close, the average that we get, the percentage of students who take the test for every school. Just for you to
Say that again.
so you have the average of the results, so the 34, and for all the schools. I guess close to that, you also wanna see, okay, at ACS, 50% of the kids took the test and we got 34. At this other school, this percentage of the kids took the test and this is the result.
I can get, I can find the average score results from most other schools. There are ways, and I sit on the IB Heads Council. In fact, I'll be gone in 2 weeks as I go to a meeting to help determine the fate of some of the DP testing in the future. Work with Siva, the Director General there. But how many took it and how many passed is not.
No, what I meant is it would be another data for you to see how good the school is doing. Because if 80% of the kids take the test, amazing. If 15%
well,
of the
we
kids take
do
the
track
test.
how many students here take the test. I have a whole hour-long presentation just on the IB data.
Okay.
If you'd like to see, in fact, I have it as a PowerPoint. If you want to stay afterwards for a few moments, I can actually open it up and I can show you by content area, by strand, where we perform, how we perform, and our IB data is exceptionally strong. We are a strong performing IB school. That part, I have no concerns over. That was, because of my background in IB, that was one of the first things I took a look at. So, but I think we could benchmark against other schools on their IB scores. What was my one word of caution about the IB average though? What did I say that we had to worry about? Who remembers when we look at the IB average just to do a flat cold call comparison?
What did you say? We invite everyone to participate? No.
That's right. They're the ones who say we have to be very careful because some schools are selective about when kids go all the way to the end and then they say you can't take the score. And the reason is because parents and other educators go straight to the score and say, wait a minute, London, and I don't think London does this, but I don't know. London said to their bottom 4 performers, you're not taking the test.
No, I understand. But my concern, not concern really, was more for you to look at it effectively. Because if ACS is 34 and let's say 50% of the kids took the test, and Dubai is 34, but 90% of the kids took the test, you say, okay, perhaps we have
so
some
how
sort of
about
improvement.
when we go to do the IB presentation, we do an IB presentation at the beginning of the year because we get our results back and we share them with the, usually the high school parents. That would be a good presentation for you to come to because you could see the amount of analysis that goes into our IB scores. It drives everything that we do. All right? Any other questions? I'll open it up and look for it and I'll come back and tell you. Okay. Anything else? I hope you can now feel like I did. And I can tell you I was in Victor's office when I was starting to do the analysis of this. And I hit Victor. I really actually hit him maybe a little too hard. I didn't mean to. I was like, what? You told me our scores are good, but you didn't tell me they were this good. I'm like, I looked at high performing elementaries. This is like unbelievable. We're like blew down the whole thing. I'm like, hit him again. He's like, no, I told you they were good. I'm like, Victor, you didn't speak in like educational language. You didn't say they were really good. You just said they were good. So I was doing what we call happy dance. I'm doing the happy dance. And I'm like, okay, this is really good because the things I wanted to do next, I know I can accelerate because we have really smart kids that can grasp concepts quickly. So I was like, you know how we said we were going to start something in September? We're going to backtrack it and start sooner. We can do that with kids like this. They can handle intriguing, complex problems as long as they're not stressed, right? So I'm going to turn it over to, oh wait, I have one more question.
Yes, please. I don't know if there is an answer to this question, but this is a school, an international school, so some people will stay all through, but some students will come and go. Is there a way to have data on how the kids that leave perform in the new schools?
Yeah,
Like
we do actually ask for, after students leave, we send an email, usually a follow-up, a checkup to make sure they're doing because we care about our families. And then we ask, hey, when you integrated your child in, was there anything that you were concerned about or had issues with? And we track that all in a spreadsheet and keep that. Now, it is hearsay data, right? And it's impression data, but it's not often I see or have read anything that indicates how we're performing that isn't like acceptable. I just received last night, I'm gonna take a look at it, comparative data of when students re-enter back into the US, and we actually have that data that the US Embassy pulls. And I'm gonna take a look at it, but just first glance at the numbers, I would say we're significantly over for scoring anyhow. And I'm happy to stay afterwards. I do have the really long IE PowerPoint for any of you that would like to see it, because we did that presentation. I'm happy to share that with you too. But I think you guys have a long time before you have to worry about anything. So let's just get them through elementary and then moving them on to high school. Thank you very much.
Another piece I want you to Google when you have a chance is the top 100 universities according to alumni happiness reported data. And this is that's a thing. 10 years after people graduate from universities, often there's a lot of polling that happens, and it's self-reported, of course, as well too. But look at the percent. Look at the universities that score highest in terms of 10 years later, once they've gone through, got a university degree or college degree, and they're in their professional life. How happy are they? And it's not necessarily exactly the same universities as are often called the top 100 universities. So it's happiness, for me, is a pretty important factor too. The other thing I just wanted to mention before passing the microphone off to Yvette is just to make sure that all of us are very, very aware that the data you saw, for example, with math data in elementary, our teachers are very fortunately using systems both in literacy and in math that allow us to teach to the kids. So although we're a standards-based school, we know what the Common Core standards are, we know what our science standards are, other standards are, but we teach the kids. And so if we have students who are ready for that next level of writing or reading or math, that's what we teach. So we go in prepared, but then we do lots of formative assessment with the kids, and that allows us to say what we teach tomorrow, but also what we teach when I talk with you, and you, and you, and you, and you. You'll see that often in elementary classrooms. You'll see not a whole lot of the teachers standing and doing this like I'm doing to all of you right now. You'll see more of the teacher wrapping that up quickly and going off and conferencing, which is what we do a lot with individual students, because they're all over the place, but many of them are peer, and so we can't teach them. So I'm now going to pass, speaking of excellence, I'm going to pass the mic off to Yvette.
So good morning, I'm Yvette Campbell, parent and now your Institutional Advancement Director. And that means nothing to almost anyone. Institutional advancement, it's like one of those weird topics in college. But I'm going to try and really drill down into that. And so this slide says it for me. I'm sorry, Jonathan, I'm standing in front of you because I want to see the room. Is that basically now that we know the facts, so we now know that ACS is a good school, it has a good reputation around the world, and there's always room for improvement. We did strategic planning for that reason, right? We got some goals that we're going to set. So there are tools, our students have the tools they need to define their future. So that is part of our mission, right? So we just want to make sure they have what they need. Which button is it? Yay! Okay, so I want to drill down into advance the institution. We do that in 1,000 ways. People that heard me speak at the PTA meeting will recognize part of this, and then we're going into the impact that you're giving. I want to talk to you about what it means to advance the institution, not just through money, but through everything you do here in this room. Many of you are room parents, and help the elementary school work with the kids. So we do that through high-profile moments. I'm sorry you can't see that. I'm going to choose a different color next time. Celebrating high-profile moments, sharing alumni stories. We work with corporations to help them support their CSR, and of course our Viper Club and our PTA do the bulk of sort of community work, building the community. But working together is essential, and what I wanted to stress with you is that if we all work together to promote ACS, that to the community and the outside world, then we'll be raising up our school together. And so it takes more than just me in the little office that's on the other side of this wall. It takes every one of us in this room to actually spread the word. Push it forward. So it's about marketing, mission, our mission, values, and vision to everyone. It also feeds out to the world. colleges will know us when they meet you, when they meet your students. When they met my daughter when she visits campuses, they were like, where do you go to school, right? She is our ambassador. Your children are our ambassadors, and you guys are our ambassadors for the school. So I said ambassador. So what's your unique role in this journey? So positive messaging for a fundraiser, just so you're aware, it affects our ability to fundraise. And I come from an institution where, when I was at my old institution, basically we had spent our endowment, we were almost closing our doors. That was our story. That wasn't a good story. What changed was that we actually raised the school up, we restored our endowment, and actually brought a new message to the rest of the world. And enthusiasm, I have a lot of it. I like to fundraise, which is sort of weird and shouldn't be the case, is infectious, and it brings new people to our cause. It brought all of you to volunteer for your classes. There are a lot of parents that don't volunteer. It's always the many, the little, the few that support the many. Good energy begets good energy, and raising our brand with the facts that the world will take notice. Full stop. They will start hearing about ACS kids. Our kids are going to Budapest, the choir and the band. They get their own advertising and posters, and all of Budapest will hear our band and choir across the venues. And that's an amazing story to bring back here and to share with all of you. But your kids aren't in the high school band, so I'm sharing it with you now. But it's really, really important, and that's the edge our students need, is to raise our brand. Going forward, sorry. So that's the facts and working together, but dreams take resources, right? So you were in strategic planning and you're working on the goals, right? But it takes resources. And so the first part is us doing it together. The second part is is basically what choices do we have? And most international schools that compete, that you're talking about, that are all over the world, fundraise. You don't want to cut back things. You don't want to eliminate essentials. You don't want to have other people volunteer to do what you do. You actually want to support the school with resources. So how are our resources set up? This is a really important slide that I'm just going to stay on for a minute, okay? This is all of our money. All of it is all of you, tuition and fees. 2% is fundraising. That's it. Like, our pie is only as big as you make it. So if we were to raise up fees, that would be all of you telling me you were going to give me more money, which is not what you want to tell people. But 100%, almost 100% of our revenues come from tuition and fees, and so contributed, we rely on the generosity of friends and family and people that love us. So, how do we, peers, Serena, peers, so I love that she gets to say the facts of the peers, I get to say the other facts of the peers. The box on the right are extraordinary fundraising schools, meaning they have endowments and they rely on maybe 29% on tuition. It's crazy. Their pie chart doesn't look anything like our pie chart. They are, the top of the food chain as far as fundraising, but all their parents give, and corporations, and it's a pretty big fundraising effort. I'm one person in an office, so it's not as big. Yes. Yes, and actually, we have a U.S. foundation, and so telling you that today, that you can actually get tax benefits from giving to ACS in the United States, but they don't get as much as they used to, right? The laws have been changing, and so they just have a history of giving that their efforts, they have a lot of people in their offices, and they actually have a lot of alumni too, and a lot of parents, and so we actually have a lot of alumni in this country that actually support the school. But the three in the middle, look at the numbers. SAS is almost 4,000 students, almost 4,000. And we actually, in our short lifespan, raised more money on average than our competitor up the road that has more parents. It's because our parents are committed to this institution in a way that maybe they are not. But the point is, we want to have the resources to achieve our mission. And this is a really good point about did you know about our U.S. Foundation? So you knew it, so you were going to tell us. But many of these schools basically understand the power of giving in the contributed revenue pie, so that you can do more. When you have more, you can do more with your sorry, apologies. You can do more with it. So I wanted to talk about the impact of your giving. So people have heard me give the previous presentation, but what you don't maybe know is that it started in 2015-16, and we have a lot of things that actually affected the elementary, which I love. It's the colorful playground. Wasn't so colorful when I got here. The pool wasn't quite shaded. It actually blew off one year, and so then it's the fun stories. But what I love about it is no one remembers the flying buttress. I was like, what happened to the flying buttress? So that thing in the middle of the road would not allow emergency vehicles to reach the other side of the campus. No one was bothered by it, but it was important. And that fund, that year, actually changed that whole walkway and added an amphitheater and brought the gathering space where the kids performed. But it looked like that before your giving, before your gifts matter. And it was gifts as little as 50 dirham, all the way up to $1 million. That's, to me, you change things. And that year, the impact of the giving, we didn't even include the big gift because it was just someone randomly wanting to help. And so that wasn't even in the annual fund campaign, that was just another gift. So that total giving changed the school. It was the gala at that time as well as the annual fund. They both go into that bucket. This is another favorite picture, is the other side of the buttress, where it's now colorful, you can't hit the wall, but see the greens, you don't get to bounce against the wall and hurt yourself. And I don't know if you can see all those metal squares. Those were really hard to walk on, and people used to twist their ankle. And so we've made our school safer, we've made our school more beautiful, I think, especially on the elementary side. And in 2017-18, we hit a record of 1.6 million, and we actually got to invest in other things, in supporting programs and strengthening other things that we do, and specifically the KG playground. The KG playground was one of the 2 goals we had in 2016-17, but we didn't quite raise enough money in that year, so we pushed it to 17-18, and so then we could make the playground change. And people say, it didn't really change. I'm like, no, that picture tells me it's a completely different space. And the reason Jonathan told me was because the ground got compacted, and this is more than you want to know, but I want you to know why fundraising matters. So the ground got compacted to the point where it was too hard to actually play on, and kids would fall on it and really hurt themselves. And then the shading didn't extend far enough. As you can see, they can only play on part of the playground. And so, to me, I had to take a picture to actually see it was transformed. And so this is why when it opened, I wanted to capture it with the kids. You can see it's the holiday time. And for me, this says why we do what we do. There's even art in there. So I don't know if you noticed, but the walls are blank, but there's actually art, the kids' art all the way around the KG playground. So from our littlest scholars to our Fab Lab innovation, giving makes a difference. So, why do I call it the Excellence Fund? So I want us to change our way of thinking. I'm not asking you for money. I want you to be inspired, to support the school with your stories, to share the facts, to bring anybody on that will listen and be inspired. This offers us the greatest opportunity to invest in our institution. And so I don't want us to think about what are we raising the money for. I'm doing the IA fund. I want us to call it the Excellence Fund. It's opportunities for excellence. And it accelerates our ability to make change. So if we don't have the money today, we can't really make the change. We're working on a finite budget. But it actually enables the leadership, the teachers, the IT guys to actually add more to our school, but it accelerates our ability to make change because we work in a budget and we make sure that your money is spent properly on the things we say will be on. And the budget gets set now for next year. And so when something comes up next year, we're like, that's nice to have, but we actually cannot support it. So, last thing, you should read this. I don't have notes on this. I want you to actually read it. And know that I value all of your time and effort because this is not, it's not always the conversation. But I think it is happy because giving back to the school in volunteering, in money, has an impact on our kids' success. I'm not asking you for money from me. See, that's the very difference. I'm actually hope that the school has the resources it needs to fulfill its goals. And so that's why aiming for excellence takes us together and takes resources and really makes our students have the tools they need to define their futures. And I welcome anyone to hang out with me, come chat about the facts. I'm capturing success stories of our alumni. When your kids go off and actually graduate from college, yes, that's going to happen. KG mom, that's going to happen. You will see that they will have had the tools they needed here as long as we continue to invest in those opportunities for them. Does anyone have any questions? I know. Yay.
I'm going to give a my-level example of this. I've learned a lot from Yvette about the way, the reason, the different ways of really supporting excellence in our school. And again, it goes beyond just the idea of fundraising and asking for individual donations. So this morning I had a friend of mine who's in grade 3 come to me, and she and her other friend in grade 3 have been doing a safety audit of our furniture around the elementary classrooms, looking at the chair legs, because we have some that have a triangular background, and some kids, as they walk by, will trip it on them. So they went classroom by classroom to get the data on how many kids are in each classroom and how many tripped recently because of that. They compiled the data and they presented me with all the table yesterday. And so I said, this is incredible, and we can make decisions around this, but I think more people need to know this. And I think that data chart's gonna be kind of difficult for people. So maybe we need an iMovie where you can present this. It's kind of a passion project idea. And you can do an iMovie, and that would be a way that within a short amount of time, you can get all this data to people. It's a great thing. And they said, well, we don't really know how to do an iMovie with like little snippets from like acting and stuff as well. And I said, well, actually, I have some friends in grade 5 that do know how to do that. Can I put you in touch with that? So this morning we were at the front gate, and as one of our friends from grade 5, who's really great with us with making iMovies, came in, I connected them. They walked off together, grade 3, grade 5, they walked off together, and they were excited about this project. And I have no doubt that it's going to happen. That's my metaphor, my analogy of like what we can all do when we're talking with our friends in the community, and we're getting them excited, we're making connections, and we're talking about ACS and all these opportunities for excellence. So I think I've learned from Yvette that it's not just the envelope of money that comes in, which is very helpful, but it's also when we're out talking with people in the community and with different companies, different institutions, even just other parents and families, the more that we can get them excited, the better it ends up being for us as a school, which means for our kids. So I really like that message that Yvette has been able to share with us. I hope I summed it up. Well done. So speaking of messaging, one of the things that we've also realized is that as a school, we need to continue to do a better and better job with messaging, with getting information to people. So that's one of the reasons I was really excited to invite Monique this morning to share the numbers, share the data with this group and with the videos, so people can access and have access to real information. Because in the absence of real information, we wonder, and we also we worry. We're not sure. And when we think if there's something missing, we think it might maybe be hidden or it's very negative. That happens. It's human nature. And then we start to ask, but we don't always go straight to the source to ask. And I'm going to bring up one of the things that we see happening a little bit more this year as social media starts to become an increasingly large percentage of our lives, which we all know it's going to continue to march that direction. And just as our students are learning how to use it positively, how to get correct information, helpful information, and responsible information through WhatsApp and through other sources, we as adults are also learning because WhatsApp wasn't around when we were in high school or middle school. So we're learning as well too. WhatsApp can be very, very powerful. And I'm using WhatsApp as one example, but it's a very common used example. It can be very powerful for lots of reasons. We can share information like that with a huge group. It can also be a little bit difficult because of the way that the type of information that is shared and whether or not questions can actually be answered. And so one thing I wanted to do was, because we have a lot of former parents here in the room right now, we are not expected, one of the things we don't do in elementary is to be official hosts of WhatsApp groups. So as a former parent, this is not my responsibilities to host a WhatsApp group. But because it's 2019, they exist. And WhatsApp groups exist in every grade level, sometimes multiple, sometimes per classroom, sometimes offshoots happen and that kind of stuff too. So very aligned with Yvette's message around the need for getting true data or true information or answers to questions, and then positive messaging, because that's very powerful. And negative messaging is equally damaging, if you can think about that, because as you know, probably from your experiences on social media, when things are repeated, they start to sound true. And things that are repeated are not necessarily true. So what I'd like to do is quickly, I also try not to kill too many trees, so I'm going to ask people to share. You guys can maybe give 2 per table. We're going to provide a link for one thing that we've gathered from some other schools and other sources, and it's a WhatsApp do's and don'ts. And I think it's just a really helpful guide to think through what is the power of a social media tool like WhatsApp. And then what are some of the difficulties that come along with it as well too. And this is something that I think is important for us as a community to think through and to really decide in what way do we want to use this tool. We do not want to shun the tool. We don't want to say it's wrong or bad. WhatsApp is not an inherently bad thing at all. There's a lot of positive, and you can see actually the do's list is longer than the don'ts. There are lots of reasons why we do want to use WhatsApp. What I will do is I will create a link, and then in the newsletter on Thursday, I'll share it with you. It's probably too long for you to digest right now. But one thing I would like to do is, because we here are the messengers, and everybody else is on WhatsApp groups that are part of our community, we are all messengers. We're all ones that help to create and craft that message and get questions answered. What I'd like to do is I'd like to work with whoever's able to sort of stick around a little bit later, right now, and I'd like to sit down with those people, and I'd like to craft, using language that you feel is appropriate, I'd like to craft sort of the official responses that anybody who's part of a WhatsApp group can give in certain settings. So for example, if somebody is using WhatsApp and they're asking questions that are quite obviously questions that probably a teacher or maybe the principal or me would have answers to, but nobody in the WhatsApp group actually has answers to, but they're continuing to ask these questions, that needs to be addressed. But what's the language that you could use and how would you feel comfortable to address that? That's what I'd like to work out with people, a group of people that would stick behind and craft that message. What if somebody in a WhatsApp group starts to get critical of either a teacher, a program, or even worse, a student or a parent? What language should we use to say, no, that's not appropriate? And we'd like to craft that message so that you have that. It's not a you answer. You're not having to put yourself out there, but you are saying, I believe this is what the school thinks in terms of this type of communication. Okay? So that's there, and we'll do some work groups after we finish when we wrap up, because I know some people will need to go. Those who can stick around, if you don't mind lending your language and helping us a little bit with crafting that message. Okay?
I'm going to share for just a second. We actually did this in Panama as well, and we made a decision how we would respond to, I actually used my PTA, who's the one who came to me and said, it would be helpful to us if it wasn't me saying the answer. If at the beginning of the year we sat down and we decided what all those responses would be, and then we actually publicized those responses in the first school newsletter so that anybody knew when they got it, it wasn't coming from you. It was coming from our agreed upon norms of how we behave as a community. Does that make better sense? And anybody could take the data. So everybody put that very same savings in the notes column in their phones, because that's where we run WhatsApp. And then it really was supportive to us because it allowed us at any time, anybody in the group could then copy and then paste to send it to the group if they felt the group was getting out of line. Now, what I have noticed here is that we behave much kinder on WhatsApp than what I was experiencing previously. Although after 4 years, we changed how we were behaving in social media in a much more positive frame. And part of that was learning how to extend our common agreements that, like, I have only ever had parents talk to me in a positive and respectful manner. But I have had parents say things in WhatsApp that I would say are not positive or respectful. So my lesson that I did with my group is I actually printed out one of the WhatsApp columns and then I stood before my because I had to get that point across, and you could just watch everybody go, oh. So if you're not comfortable saying that in a large group setting, verbally, it's not okay to put it into writing. And that was the lesson that everybody got in that moment and went, oh, our behavior really isn't very good in WhatsApp. Now this community has a strong community feeling, and I want to make sure that we extend that feeling into our digital media as well. So having those responses pre-written up, and that everybody knows what they're going to be, and then we can do the sharing out with the community so that there's no, it doesn't feel like something got done to them by a random person. Does that make sense? I just want to share that.
Can I just say that I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it would be extremely useful the first week of school.
Yes. Yeah, I still think we can do this, and then we as a leadership team have already talked about what, as we bring it in now, because I think we can bring it in now, it becomes part of the training and teaching for the start of all people. And especially for new families coming in, right? Like, so my new family coordinators, I know there's some of you in here, we do an amazing job of onboarding our new families. This becomes part, I would say, part and parcel of the onboarding situation, so that we really have it clear how our community operates. Because I think one thing we all hold in agreement, we like the community feel of the school. And I would like to maintain that in any area that we go into.
Okay, so again, if anybody's able to volunteer and stick around a little bit later, just to get some language down and think about those responses, I think it'll be powerful coming from us, and not just from you as an individual or from the school individually as well too. So, we are a very busy school. The way that we accomplish what we do in terms of the four pillars of success here in the school is that we do a lot of things, so kids have lots of opportunities. So, Vicky, if Vicky wants to come and just talk through a little bit of what's coming up right now, and the role especially for parents.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for coming. I know I sent a couple of emails, so sorry to send a reminder again, but we wanted to get as many people as we could here. As you can see, this week's and leading into February is really, really busy. Right after we finish this, we're going to be setting up for the Science and Engineering Fair. We have 173 participants for the Science and Engineering Fair, spread between today and tomorrow. On Thursday, we have the Elementary Arts Evening. And of course, Thursday, February 7th, will be our celebration for February birthdays. And this year, the Valentine's Day celebration and the 100th day, they come together. So with that in particular, I would strongly request you to talk to your teacher and figure if there's any way you can marry both of those events together and try and make it a celebration together instead of having a Valentine's party separately in class. If you could make it more about friendship, compassion, more of a craft art project rather than food, because I think there's a lot of celebration around food with birthdays on Thursday the 7th, and then following the 21st, which is International Day. Yes?
Very great birthdays are also being celebrated on the 14th because they're on
Even better.
So that's actually nice. Yeah.
So it's just that I don't know if the teachers have any ideas for the 100th day celebration, so I strongly recommend you kind of talk to your teachers, figure out what day works, and if third grade's in a field trip, maybe you guys would want to do it. I mean, talk to the teacher and figure out what time works, because it's, I'm sure, going to be a very, very busy day for them. So yeah, just keeping in mind, again, our school being nut-free, if we can avoid things that have nuts. Any allergies your classes have, bear that in mind, please. And if you can make it more of a celebration of children and their friendship, rather than about food, we strongly appreciate it. I think that's all I have.
Just to add to that, all that success that Vinny is talking about in terms of the huge participation we have already signed up for the Science and Engineering Fairs, I would like if our coordinators, our organizers of the fair, could stand up for a second. These people have worked super hard. Sarah, all of you. They were modest, they wouldn't want the attention, but they deserve all of that and a lot more, because again, this is our mission of the school. We want kids who are empowered, kids that take advantage of opportunities and say, I have questions about the world around me, so I'm going to create investigations or do prototyping of engineering. And I want to remind all of you that this is a fantastic celebration. There's an excitement around an event like this, and of course you'll see later today just all of the projects set up and kids walking around. We're going to have a wonder wall up on this screen, and an actual physical wonder wall as well too, where people, especially students, when they're getting these presentations done to them, they can generate their own questions and say, what if this happened, or why does this happen? They're going to go over here, they're going to type it up into a Padlet, which will project up onto the screen. So their questions as they're going will be up there. We don't want to lose that. That thread is incredibly important. If we really want to empower kids, it means saying, okay, what questions did you have? And what are you going to do about it? How are you going to create an investigation to find out? That is the kind of learner, I believe, that our mission is telling us that we're trying to produce, and that we really, I know as a father, that's what I want for my kids. Of course I want them to feel secure with all of the content and the standards and everything, but I also want them to go home and think about what else they can do. And that's, I think, for me, a very exciting thing that opportunities like the Science and Engineering Fair, they promote, but it's through all of our work with them in school and all of the work that parents do with them out of school to keep that learning going always. It's very, very important. Related to that, actually, and so we have lots of other opportunities for learning that happen, and it's busy because we know there's lots of ways that learning takes place. So actually, related to that, I wanted to share with you a quick video. Now, this is just a first draft, and this is also very student-produced. This involved 2 high school boys who were in a media production class. They worked with 2 grade 5 girls who were the narrators, 1 grade 4 girl who was the sort of principal actor, and her parents that were very cooperative with this as well too, and allowed the film crew into their home. You'll see the result here in a second. Again, this is a first draft. The boys are still working on the audio and working on what's called the outro, or the intro, and the outro, so we'll see that too. But it's something we're going to share very soon with all parents, all elementary parents, so they can see more ways in which home learning and this passion project can take place. It has been phenomenal this year. The different presentations we've seen kids do in classrooms, and the way that the other kids in the class respond to those presentations and start to ask questions as well and want to do a lot of home learning themselves. So here,
welcome to the ACS Elementary. Recently this year, our homework policy has changed. Instead of homework, our students now undertake their very own passion projects. I'm here to tell you what a passion project is. Passion projects are student-specific. Each student first identifies something they are passionate about.
Once the topic is identified, students can begin self-directed learning and research about their project. This can include, but is not limited to, taking interviews, online researching, and drawing from personal experiences. Once research is done, some students can obtain peer feedback and further improvement their project, while others can begin presenting their findings. These presentations can take form of slideshows, poster board, or hands-on presentations.
Now let's hear what others have to say.
The passion projects have really opened up an opportunity for kids to kind of dig deeper into what they're curious about.
It's a great way for the children to become stronger in what they learn in school.
They are now more curious about learning. They're asking more questions.
Whatever they're passionate about, they do want to talk about it, and they want to sort of showcase that knowledge.
This is where the outro will then take place, the final narration by the girls, and our final shots of the school. So again, produced by our 2 high school boys and coming soon to a lake near you. Final thing I'll say about that is we did a lot of focus on science and engineering in the month of January. We had parent workshops, as you know, many of you attended. Some of you helped host as well too. At the beginning of January, we had science and engineering fairs today and tomorrow. We're going to continue with a series of parent workshops, totally optional, but chances for you to figure out other ways of getting more tools or strategies on how to support different types of learning for your child outside of school. We're going to take care of all the learning in school, but there's lots of opportunity outside of school as well too. We're going to do a math focus in February, so we'll have a workshop for parents on how to work with your child and ask them the right kinds of questions to get them thinking mathematically. We have a arts focus, like a music and an artistic side focus in March that we'll do as well. And possibly in April, as I'm recruiting already, some great resources and some great connections in the community to focus on sustainability, ecology, what else? Conservation, and more coming soon too. Okay, so please hope take advantage of those opportunities too, because it's pretty wonderful the things that we're seeing the kids do and the way they're taking action. And I believe this is the point at which we've kept you longer than we said.
I'll see how this works. I'm here to tell you.
So what we're going to do is we're going to allow for time for questions, but it is 9:20. We can have questions right now. Is there anybody who has a question they'd like to ask with the group? If you'd like, we'll also stick around and we can ask questions around the table as well too. Okay? In fact, why don't we go right to that part? I don't want to take any more time. Thank you very much.